Hey everybody, welcome back to Rageous. Tonight, we're going to clean us a muzzleloader. In fact, we may clean another couple of guns as well while we're at it. Muzzleloader season's coming up pretty quick, so one of our viewers requested a demonstration on how to clean a muzzleloader. So we're going to take care of that tonight. I have right here a CVA Optima. This is a 209 primered muzzleloader, and you'll see what that means here in just a second if you're not familiar with that, but it's called an inline muzzleloader. And we'll go over some of the things that happen with the upkeep and the maintenance of this thing. This one just happens to be stainless steel. I picked it up at a swap meet last year for a little over $100, and I grabbed it because it was a bargain at that price. It needed quite a bit of cleaning. It had been sitting in their house somewhere for quite some time. There was rust in a number of places, and I just need to make sure that I pull it out and get this thing cleaned out before we get to season. And what you're going to see, what you're going to find, is that it's very dirty. But you'll see how we take care of these things. So with that, I'm going to get started. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the breech. There's a little lever down here in the bottom of this gun, and the breech, that's this part right here, pops open. Now, I'm going to take and show you right here, right there, that there's what's called a breech plug. That plug needs to come out. It's one of the very first things that we need to do in order to clean this muzzleloader. And what I want to show you is that there's a little bitty hole on the exterior end of this breech plug. This right here is where the 209 primer goes, or the ignition cap, to set off the charge. Now, what you can't see right now because it's pretty fouled up and pretty dirty is that there's a hole that runs through the center of this plug. It's a really tiny hole. It runs all the way through the center to where that 209 primer is going to ignite the charge. And the powder you're going to see is going to be on this end right here. But it's very threaded, and we need to clean all of that. So I have right here a bowl of hot water, and I'm going to put this breech plug inside this hot water. Now I'm going to also put in with it some black powder bore cleaner. This just happens to be made by Thompson Center. I've tried several over the years. I'm not real picky about which one that I use yet, but this right here has been pretty effective for me the last couple of years. So I'm going to mix some of that in with the hot water. It's kind of a light blue color. I'll be a little liberal with it. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the ramrod. I'm going to need that. And that's underneath the barrel. Now this ramrod has a brass piece on the end of it that if you'll unscrew it, it will actually extend out to lengthen the rod itself, and it will tighten just like that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to attach a brush to the end of this ramrod so that I can run it through the barrel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the ramrod and run it through the breech end of the barrel. Raise the barrel up so any debris will fall out to this towel on the table. Now, as you can see, there was quite a bit of stuff inside that barrel just for a first pass. And what I want to do is I want to look through the barrel real quick, take a scan and see just how clear it is and if I need to keep running the brush. I think I'm going to go ahead and make another couple of passes. It's not terrible, but I just want to make sure that I knock off as much as I can before I really start getting serious with the cleaners. I would ordinarily be doing this with the towel on the floor, but for demonstration purposes, I'm doing this on the table and I have to stand up. So the hold is a little bit awkward, but I think you get the idea. So at this point, I'm going to look through the barrel one more time. What I'm finding is that I still have a little bit of debris on the breech end that I want to go ahead and knock before I use the cleaners to get the base layer of the debris off. So when I look through the barrel, what I'm doing is I'm looking through the barrel at a light on the opposite end so that I can see the metal and the rifling through the interior of the barrel out toward the end and see just how clean that is. So I feel like I've got most of the superficial stuff off. What I'm going to do now is apply a cleaner to the inside of the barrel. Let that set a little bit before I brush again. Now this right here is CVA's Barrel Blaster Wonder Gel that I got on sale at the end of the season last year or the year before. I don't remember which, but it was at the end of the season. You can get some pretty good bargains when you do that. But this is a gel, and I'm going to apply that to the interior of the barrel. What I'm doing right now is I'm slowly and gently brushing that gel to make sure that it gets complete coverage around the interior of the barrel. Now at this point, I'm going to take a look inside the barrel with the cleaner still in there, with the gel still in there, so that I can see how effective it's been so far. And already that has made a huge difference. So I think what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to change brushes, and I'm going to run a couple of patches through here just to clean it out and see where we're looking. So as you can tell, that looked pretty nasty. But that's good because we're getting this stuff off of there. What I will usually do is go through several patches so that I can get as much of this out of here and cleaned out as possible. Now these right here are just some cotton patches. They're not pre-lubricated like these bore cleaner patches are right here. I'm going to run a couple of white patches through it and see what happens. still quite a bit of dirt and a little bit of fouling in there, but it is starting to lighten up, which is a good thing. It's not covering the majority of the patch anymore. Now we're really starting to lighten up. You can see that there's ribbing in the dirt tracks right there. So we're getting there. Alright, yeah, we're really starting to make some progress on this now. That's good. Yeah, see, look at that. You can start to really see the difference. Going from this to that. And these rib lines are from the brush ribs. So you may have noticed as I pull the ramrod back through with the brush, if there's any debris, I'm loosening it there, and I'm pushing it out at the other end with the patch. So I'm brushing and patching, and brushing and patching. And I started off with lubricated patches, and I've gone to dry patches. So at this point, I think what I can do on some of these right here is flip the patch and go the other way. See, it's white on that side? Oh yeah. That's the part we brushed just now. So we'll do that with this one. So it's really starting to lighten up. That's a great thing, a great sign. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pull the ramrod and the brush back out and take a look through the barrel again. See how we're doing. Alright, so that actually looks really, really good, but I'm going to go ahead and gel it up one more time and let it sit for just a minute because there's a little bit of residual residue that if I can get out, I'd really like to. Alright guys, so I feel like we've got the thing pretty well brushed out. I'm going to lubricate the inside of the bore real well so that whenever it is time to load this thing, that I get a good smooth pass through the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to pull the brush off and I'm going to use one of these other brushes. It's a softer brush inside the bore. The barrel's pretty well clean and I've brushed out the end where the breech plug is going to go. We'll take care of the breech plug here in just a minute. But first things first, I need to get this bore protected. So what I'm using here is a Natural Lube 1000 Plus product from Thompson Center. Now this has been a product that I've used for several years now. I've been pretty well pleased with it. It's been able to take care of my charges very, very well. And I've been able to get several shots out of a good clean barrel. So I'm going to load this on this softer brush and run it through the barrel a couple of times. And you can see it's a bit thicker. It's almost like a waxy substance. I'll put some of that on this brush right here. Set that aside. I'm going to kind of push that down onto the pad or onto the brush bristles. What I want to do is I just want to coat the inside of the barrel real good. And that should be enough. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a rag and I'm going to wipe off the ends here where the breech plug goes, because we're going to do something a little bit different right there. And I'm going to wipe off the end so that I don't have any clogged up lubricant. And as you've seen me do a couple of times, I'm going to look through the barrel again. And that looks really, really good. So we'll take this brush off right here. Set that to the side for a second. Clean off the ramrod. Wipe it down. And I'm going to close it back up. And reinstall it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reach in here into this hot water with this cleaner, and I'm going to pull out the breech plug. Set it right there to dry for a second. This is kind of focused work, so I got to have my reading glasses. Now the very first thing that I'm going to do, you can see that there's threads on there. There is some grease, some breech plug grease on that, which seals that connection to the barrel itself. But I want to clean that out because I'm going to replace it. So I'm going to take my rag here and I'm going to run my fingernail on this side, holding and turning the breech plug through the threads to clear out that grease. And I want to make sure that I get through all the threads. And you can see there was quite a bit of stuff in there. I'm going to do that one more time. It's important to keep these threads clean so that the breech plug does not seize inside the barrel and you can't get it out. Because it's a nightmare when it does. All right. So you can see we got a little more out that time. Kind of look this over a little bit. Okay. Just going to touch this side up. That looks good. Alright. I'm just going to brush this a little bit just to make sure that I get anything left on the breech plug off. I want good clean threads. You may be able to hear the rain in the background. It's been raining all evening. This is the night that the temperature begins to drop. Alright, so I'm going to grab my breech plug pick, which is a nifty little tool, also by Thompson Center, that is used to clean out this hole that goes right down through the center of this breech plug. Now, if you can see that, there's a little metal pin that comes sliding out as I slide this down, and it extends. I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can see that. But I'm going to run this through this hole right here to make sure that it's clear, so that the spark that comes from the 209 primer will be able to ignite the charge on this end of the breech plug inside the barrel. I'm going to run that around several times. I really want to make sure that it's clear because it can actually misfire if it's not. Now I'm going to look through this thing and see if I can see some light through it. Sometimes you got to blow on it a little bit to push any debris out that's been knocked loose with the pin. You want to make sure this is really clean. It's a really small hole, so you got to kind of turn the breech plug a little bit, make sure that all of the sides have been cleared of any fouling or powder residue from the previous shots. All right, we've got a good clean opening now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some of this breech plug grease to this breech plug before reinstalling it. Coating the threads real good. Now when reinstalling this plug, you don't want to get this super tight. You want it snug, but you don't want it super tight. You want to be able to get it back out. If it's too tight, you won't be able to. Now different guns, different muzzleloaders will have different ways to get this breech plug out. And you'll see that on a different muzzleloader that will do. Now, like I said, snug, not super tight. Now just to make sure that I didn't get anything in that channel, that pore, I'm going to run my breech plug tool through that hole one more time to make sure that it's clear. And it looks like we're good. Now the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to look over the gun generally and see if there's any spot or spots that I need to brush just to make sure that they're good. Now it is very important that when you're doing this that you double check and make sure that your firing pin or your firing device or mechanism within the inline muzzleloader that you have is firing properly. You do not want that to get hung up or seized. And it looks like this one's good. Alright, so the last thing that I'm going to do, because this is a stainless steel barrel, I'm going to very, very lightly oil it. I don't have to oil it at all because it's stainless steel, as long as I keep it dry and keep it clean. But I'm just going to do it out of habit anyway. Alright folks, that's a good clean muzzleloader. We'll set that to the side for a second. And I'll show you what we're going to work on next time. This is my son's muzzleloader. It has a different action than the one that I just cleaned. It has a cocking device which is used to pull the hammer back, and it's spring-loaded to kick off the 209 primer in front of it at the breech plug. The breech plug in this gun is actually right here. And there's a tool that comes in the back end. You pop off this breech plug cap, and the tool comes all the way through here and connects into or fits into a channel in the breech plug, and then you unscrew it that way. But the next time we get together, we'll clean this one. Now folks, I want to thank you for watching as we get ready for muzzleloader season. This has been Raw to Rageous. I'm Bobby, and if you haven't done it yet, drop a like, drop a subscribe, pass this out and send it out to your friends, share it up, and we'll see you next time.